Mariwa Aodili returns with another totally weird and awesome one-shot Iron Man story, this time taking the hero into the depths of the ocean on an adventure with a giant sardine. I love that Mariwa just doubled down on the weirdness of the first issue in this second issue. Like, Tony teaming with a fish to battle a giant psychic whale who's trying to eat more fish than he's allowed to is just something I think like an X-Men book would deal with, not an Iron Man book, but I'm all for it, and I love the through line of Tony defying Mother Nature and going against the rules of nature, just something he does on like an hourly basis by just living and having a suit that keeps him alive, and him imparting that wisdom to this mutant sardine was oddly wholesome. If the series is just going to be these weird kind of one and dones each issue, I am all for that, since it's about time Iron Man gets weird. Doton Akande continues on as series artist, really leaning into the very thalassophobia of the ocean that it triggers in some people, along with a cool sea monster being a sort of second character, which I'm 100% behind. I love cool and weird sea monsters, so I'm really glad to see more of that being used here. The muted color palette was also somewhat calming as well, being that we're at the bottom of the ocean, it's like crushing cold depths of the ocean, but the darker blues and greens just made it very easy on the eyes and very sort of serene, and I quite liked that. I Am Iron Man issue 2 was a totally weird, different Iron Man story, thrusting Tony into a truly unique situation as he continues to defy the laws of nature to be the hero for everyone, fish included. I'm going to give this issue a 10 out of 10. I Am Iron Man issue 2 finds Iron Man rushing to save Earth from a meteorite striking it, slamming into the asteroid and trying to slow it down with his armor's thrusters. Tony doesn't think he has enough juice to do it, but thinks about using his armor's thermocouple factor to convert the heat from the asteroid into his thrusters' power. The plan works, but a little too well, as the extra power causes the rock to break apart under Iron Man's hands, breaking it into multiple pieces. Below in Norway, a village evacuates as a woman tells her daughter that they're going to be okay as she spots Iron Man amongst the rocks. She knows that he won't let them get hurt as Iron Man blows apart the rocks. Later on, 2 S.H.I.E.L.D. hazmat agents collect some of the debris, hoping that that's the last of it, but the other doubts it, thinking it's going to be one of those days since he forgot his wallet at the local diner after he went to get cash out at the bank. The other thinks that Lady Luck isn't going to change her mind and give him a break here, but the agents thinks that all the luck in the world must have gone to that one village, since if one of the rocks hit them, their cleanup would be a very different kind, as he surveys a field full of dead sheep and insects, all who died thanks to the radioactive rocks. Iron Man meanwhile awakens at the bottom of the Norwegian Sea, surprised that he is alive as he is confronted by a giant monster who telepathically tells him that this is awkward since he almost ate Tony. Tony tries to talk to the monster, but he says he doesn't speak bubbles, but he speaks fluorescence, even if Freds don't like it very much. He tells Tony to think out his words, and Tony begins talking telepathically to the giant fish. Tony warns it to get far away from the area if it doesn't want to die, angering the fish who thinks it's a threat. Tony thinks aloud, knowing a repulsor beam down the creature's throat should kill it, but the creature backs down, saying it can't be bothered to fight anymore and Tony should just kill it. Tony says he isn't trying to kill him, but the fish doesn't listen, knowing that this is what he gets for all of the Freds he's eaten. Tony reiterates that he won't be killing the creature, telling it that it was nice meeting him as he leaves. The creature follows on and can still hear Tony's thoughts, finding Tony knows there is a large radioactive asteroid in this part of the ocean, and it will probably kill anything that gets too close, just like the fish following him. The fish knows where this rock is, wanting to take Tony to it. Tony sets his armor to glow, prompting the creature to call him a man of culture as he begins to glow as well, lighting up the dark ocean. Tony explains that this is his thermocouple factor in overdrive, trying to pull what heat it can from the water to keep him alive in the armor. The monster spots a Fred, saying hello to them, but the fish flee in terror. The being thinks that it's weird since Freds have always been very simple in their thought process, following the 5 Fs: flee, fight, frolic, and feed. Tony cuts him off before the last one, knowing exactly what he was going to say as the creature tells him that all Freds he's met in the ocean seem to be stuck on flee now. They spot a swarm of the Freds, which the monster tells Tony will recognize as just plain old sardines. Tony goes to blast a hole in the swarm so they can continue, but the monster isn't worried, lazily swimming between between the harmless fish. Suddenly, a giant humpback whale appears, swallowing most of the threads as the monster warns Tony about it, since the last piece of the asteroid is lodged in the whale's tail, meaning that it has been granted a great psychic power. The whale uses his powers to call the threads to him, and the monster guiding Tony complies as well, swimming towards it. Tony grabs the monster's tail, telling him he can fight this, but he knows that he can't, since he used to be a thread before the asteroid found him and changed him. He wants Iron Man to take the asteroid and flee, otherwise he'll just be eaten like the rest of them, since down there, the strong feast on the weak. Tony races towards the whale, telling the confused being that he is Iron Man and the whale has eaten enough. He causes a giant explosion, blowing water out of the ocean, as Tony tells the whale that could have easily been the whale's guts splashing on the surface, and it will be if he doesn't leave. The whale doesn't think that Tony has enough power to do that again, hearing Tony's thoughts, as Tony hopes that he buys this ploy since he's out of juice. Tony spouts out the decimal points of pi as he falls unconscious. Tony's monster friend helps him though, catching Tony before he falls to the bottom of the ocean, as Tony tells him that if his armor loses enough power, Mother Nature will stop his heart, just like how she sent the asteroid that could have killed all of humanity just for the fun of it. Tony thinks Mother Nature is the hottest woman he doesn't want to dream about going out with. He tells his friend that if it's to protect the ones you love, it's okay to stand up to Mother Nature, and it's okay that he's a sardine that doesn't want to be someone else's meal and wants to protect his family from suffering the same fate. Tony knows that he defies Mother Nature every day just by living, as he falls unconscious. The monster doesn't think he did this time, swimming off and leaving the unconscious Tony. Sometime later, shield divers locate Iron Man, wanting Director Fury told that Iron Man is alive, meaning Tony has defied Mother Nature yet again.